Hey, welcome to Bad Points. I am Seth Jones. We do not have a guest today. We don't have Dan Wiggins. Mr. Dan Wiggins has been very busy. I think he owns 8,000 companies and probably reads a lot of books too. That's what happens when you're a polymath. You're never busy learning and figuring things out. Luckily, I don't need someone else for this one. I'm really just wanting to talk about Halloween because I know for a fact that most people in America celebrate holidays without really knowing the history of them or even why they're celebrating. They just take the traditions and they run with it. For example, with Thanksgiving, they make turkey, they make dressing or stuffing, depending on where you're from, cranberry sauce. You've got the traditional Thanksgiving meal. You invite your friends and family over and you enjoy the food. And you know it has something to do with pilgrims and Indians, right? Or Native Americans, whatever you like to call them. Uh, but they don't really dive into why they're doing it, where it came from. And Halloween's a confusing one because it doesn't really make sense. Because the American Republic, the country, circa 1776, was founded primarily by Christians. Now, these Christians disagreed with each other on some things, but they all believed that Jesus Christ died, rose from the dead, and that is pivotal to the Christian religion. If you don't believe that God assumed the form of a man, was crucified and resurrected and paid for all of our sins, then you're not a Christian. That's my understanding. And whether I'm right or okay, because I've heard the other explanations and they don't make sense. But we're not going to get into that today. We're going to talk about Halloween. And quickly, this episode is sponsored by First Form Energy Drinks. Okay, they did not give me any money, but I love the company. I love the founder of the company, Andy Frisella. He's a great American. He's done a lot of good for the country, even though most people have not heard of him. He's right on most subjects. Of course, you can have opinions that are not right or wrong, but he basically has been telling us what's been happening around the world. It's a global communism, it's Bolsheviks, it's Marxism, it's critical theory, intersectionality. He's talked about all those things. He talked about how they're going to create a race war. Anyway, he's a great guy. He's a great American. Get yourself a First Form energy drink. They're delicious. They come in a variety of flavors, and they are predominantly found in 7-Eleven because they have a deal with 7-Eleven. So check them out. Anywho, so what I did was I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, what's the history of Halloween in America? Why do we celebrate it? And use less than 500 words because I did not want to read a 3,000 word complete history of Halloween. I want to kind of hit up the highlights, but the broad explanation as to why it's here and why we celebrate it and why we celebrate it in the way that we do. So let me read it. I'm going to go there aren't many paragraphs, obviously, as I stated. I told them to use less than 500 words, so I'll just stop periodically. Halloween's history in America is a blend of ancient Celtic traditions, European customs, and American innovation. The holiday's roots trace back over 2,000 years to the Celtic festival of Samhain, which is spelled Samhain. How that is Samhain, I'm not sure. Celebrated on October the 1st, of course. For the Celts, this marked the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, a time when they believed the boundary between the living and the dead was thin, allowing spirits to roam the earth. People lit bonfires and wore costumes to ward off ghosts. So, that could be true. I don't know. We have no idea. But as we know from what we know right now, the collective agreements on what is true and what is false, that seems like bullshit. It seems like that's not really the case. I don't think many people believe the boundary between the living and the dead is thin at the beginning of winter, thus allowing us to speak to spirits that roam the earth. So the origin of it would obviously be considered pagan. That's not Christian belief. That doesn't appear to be rooted in truth. But I don't really hold that against it because holidays can change completely. You could do a 180. You could have a holiday founded on originally the roots could be fully satanic and terrible. And maybe people like the idea of a holiday that has something to do with that, but they don't like the bad parts and they can change it. And that's what's happened to Halloween in America. So I don't really care that much about the original, the origins of the holiday itself. Continuing, when Christianity spread through Europe, the church sought to replace pagan festivals with Christian ones. All Saints' Day, or All Hallows, was established on November the 1st, and the night before became All Hallows' Eve, eventually shortened to Halloween. Sounds like the church, whichever church that was, and Christians changed the holiday to some extent, I guess to a great extent, because they would change the pagan aspects of Halloween to something else. European immigrants brought these customs to North America in the 1800s, especially the Irish fleeing the Great Famine, which was terrible. We can go into that some other time. Early American Halloween celebrations mixed old world traditions with new customs. Communities began holding autumn festivals, sharing ghost stories, and playing pranks. By the late 19th century, the holiday became more community centered and less focused on superstition or witchcraft. I believe that's a good development. I don't think it should be focused on superstition or witchcraft because, I mean, that's you can say it's real or not. Witchcraft is a real thing. There are really witches that do rituals and sacrifice and drink blood, try to summon demons, all of that stuff. Personally, I believe as, God has power, obviously. He created the heaven and the earth. He created everything we see. He created our minds. And, compared to God, the devil has no power. Satan has no power. But Satan obviously has some level of power because he can manipulate us, right? He works through us. So, um, I think it was obviously a good idea to change it to something less pagan and more focused on just harmless fun, right? That was probably the rationale behind changing it, I'm sure. I will say that sharing ghost stories is just fun. I don't really have a problem with that. If you want to share a ghost, I personally don't care about ghost stories. They do nothing for me. Even the ones that people swear are true. When going back to Andy Frisella, a guy I respect a lot, he believes in ghosts. Genuinely, you cannot convince him otherwise. He has seen, he's heard pounding in his walls at 2 a.m. He saw a ghost, all that stuff. Okay, I personally have never experienced any of that. None of it. If I've never experienced it at all and it doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to mess with it. Okay, I'm not going to act like it's real or fake. I don't know. No one really knows, but you can argue about it all day. But yeah, that was a good development there. Trick-or-treating evolved from several old traditions. In medieval Europe, souling, S-O-U-L, as in your soul, souling involved poor people going door to door on All Hallows Eve, receiving food in exchange for prayers for the dead. In Scotland and Ireland, children practiced guising, dressing in costume and performing tricks or songs for treats. These customs blended in the United States to form modern trick-or-treating, which became widespread by the 1950s. So it sounds like what was happening was, those street performers. Who's that? Charlie Crockett. He's a country artist. He did that. A lot of people have done that. You go on the street. I did. It's called busking. I've done it a little bit. I did it in what's that damn in Florida? The Florida Keys, Key West. Yeah, did it in Key West a little bit. It's cool. You get to play music. It if you're good, if people like you, then it creates a fun environment. You can open your guitar case and people can throw money in. And, it's like, hey, I'm here to entertain anyone who wants to be entertained. I'd appreciate some money. I need money. So it seems like they were doing that. These people that had no money would go to houses with people who had money or food, and they would tell a story or sing or dance, and then you could give them something if you wanted to. It's what it sounds like it was. Sounds like an annoying holiday. I didn't sign up for this holiday, and now I'm getting 30 people knocking on my door tonight trying to get food and stuff from me. I'm not a fan of that concept, but I guess in a strong community, it wouldn't be a big deal. If I lived in the town I'm from, we knew most of the people that came by for trick or treating, and we'd give them something, right? And traditionally, it was candy. We'll get into that in a minute. By the 20th century, Halloween had transformed into a largely secular, meaning non-religious, which secularism is a religion, but that's for another time. Largely secular, family-friendly holiday centered on costumes, candy, and parties. The rise of movies and pop culture in the mid-1900s helped cement its spooky imagery, ghosts, witches, pumpkins, and monsters, into American life. Today, Halloween is one of the most popular holidays in the United States, celebrated by millions through costumes, haunted houses, and community events. While its origins lie in ancient fears about the spirit world, Americans now celebrate it as a fun, creative expression of imagination and the changing season. In short, Halloween in America evolved from ancient Celtic rituals and European folk customs into a uniquely American celebration that blends community, creativity, and spooky fun. So, that is the origins of Halloween in America. And so I've heard a lot of people critique Halloween saying, it's about ghosts and witches and blood sucking and skeletons and zombies and, pagan things, right? It's pagan. It's not Christian. There's different ways you can look at that. You can say anything that is not of God should be shunned. And that's biblical. It is. So if you want to take that stance and do that thing, more power to you. I will not chastise you for doing that. I do understand, however, that America has a lot of different types of people in it, different ideologies, and even within the same ideology, for example, Christianity. There are a lot of Christians that will take that hardline stance and say we do not celebrate these pagan concepts, such as ghosts and witchcraft and things like that. And then there are Christians who say it's all in good fun. We're still Christian. We just let our kids dress up and have fun and go get candy. Cool. It's just a fun thing to do. And I do like traditions. I know traditions are very important for a culture. A culture that does not have traditions is ever changing. There's no foundation. There's nothing to bond over. Someone comes over from Japan and they truly want to assimilate into American culture, which is what they should do. If you do not want to assimilate into American culture, you should not come here. You're hurting the country, and you will not be as happy if you do not assimilate to the new home that you are in. You should learn the language. You should partake in the traditions. But there are people who think differently on the subject. It's a wide range of opinions. I don't think America was supposed to be a melting pot. I really don't. But it became that to a large extent. And you're not going to change that at this point. You have to push your side and hope it wins, right? I like to push traditional American values, the good ones, not the bad ones. But the holiday, let's get more practical, less ideological, less religious and things like that. So the good parts of the holiday are it is a long-standing tradition. That's good. We want long-standing traditions. It's also the purpose of it is not hateful. It's not a bad thing. You're not supposed to say, you don't say, hey, if you're this color of person, you can do it. But if you're not, you have no right celebrating this. No, it's for everybody. White, black, brown, gay, straight, Christian, Muslim, whatever. You can all celebrate Halloween. Okay. So it's not innately a divisive holiday in that sense. But I think probably there's a few things that annoy me about Halloween. And full disclosure, traditionally, I do not dress up for Halloween. I turn off my porch light. I don't want to participate. That's just me. I don't like the holiday. I don't think it's a good holiday. I think you could change it. You could do it your own way. But I don't like dressing up in a costume. I've done it a few times when I was really, really big and muscular and strong. It only made sense to dress up as a superhero because not a lot of people can pull that off properly. So I dressed up as Wolverine, kind of got my facial hair and the hair on my head situated to look like Wolverine. And I did that and didn't hurt me, but it didn't help me either. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I don't like going to people's houses and knocking on doors and asking for candy because I don't know if they want to participate or not. And they could just be getting harassed all night. And I don't want to be one of the people harassing them. But I don't agree with that tradition. I just don't. If everyone went to one person's house who wanted to have a Halloween party and everyone dressed up, went in there and they had candy for the kids, that's more acceptable. But speaking of candy for the kids, if you actually research and look into candy, traditional candy, it's basically toxic. It's toxic amounts of simple sugar. It causes neurological problems. It causes inflammation to all of your tissues. It can keep you from thinking properly. It can make you dumb temporarily. Now you can when the sugar cycles out, your brain begins to recover, but it's just not healthy. It's not good for you. And I don't understand why we would want a holiday where we tell kids to eat as much toxic chemicals as they possibly could. Like, hey, this is your holiday, have fun, do some be really unhealthy today. How Thanksgiving you eat food, but it's meat, it's vegetables, it's grains. It's better for you than a bunch of candy. So I don't like the candy element of it either. Dressing up, I don't see the point. I don't care for it. Other people do. That's okay. But knocking on people's doors and having your door knocked on all night, I don't think it's good. Some people like it, but I don't think it's good, right? I don't think you should do that. That's my opinion. But I think the worst thing probably is the candy element. I think that's frankly really stupid. And one of the arguments for Halloween, to support Halloween, has been, well, it's good for the economy because you get to, you buy and sell decorations, you buy and sell costumes, you buy and sell candy, you buy and sell pumpkins and all that. I mean, you could say the same thing about any holiday. You can make a different holiday instead of Halloween. They're the same concept. So the economic advantages are irrelevant to me. I don't think that matters. I think the biggest issue is really the toxic candy. So I think that if you could fix the candy situation, just take out the candy, give kids something better. Maybe it's a toy or healthy food. I think that would make more sense. Problem there is kids have zero interest in a holiday where they get to go around and get healthy food. They don't want to do it. But you can still dress up. I think if I did celebrate Halloween, if I wanted to fix Halloween, I would take out the I'd probably take out the going to random doors and knocking and asking for candy. I would change that. Or asking for anything. I think you should go to people's houses who you know. You call your friends, call your family. Hey, can we come to your house, on Halloween night? Yeah, sure, we got candy. We got whatever. Then I would also change the candy. I would change it to something else that kids might like. I don't know what that may be. These days, it's probably something digital, unfortunately. Like, hey, here's a $10 Steam card. Go put it towards a video game you like. Of course, that's not good for you either. At least you're not directly ingesting toxins. And to be clear, I don't think anyone who gets really into Halloween is wrong. There's nothing wrong with that if you're doing it for the right reasons, for fun and community. Again, carrying on a tradition, it's a good thing. I actually have several friends that are really, really into Halloween. I can think of 3 off the top of my head, and they're all female. And I have a theory about that. I think females like to dress up and put on makeup and things like that, and that's a chance for them to do that without being seen as a weirdo. So I definitely understand the allure to that. I wait all year to be able to put on white makeup and put red blood streaks on it and dress up as Harley Quinn or my favorite comic book character or dress up as George Washington, whatever you want to do. I get it. I understand why you would want to do that. But me personally, not a Halloween fan. But it is important to understand the origins of Halloween, why it exists, how it evolved, and what it currently is. And then you could do a little additional thinking and think about what you would like to make it into. Because I would like to change the concept of Halloween. Will I do that? Absolutely not, because I don't even participate in it. So how am I going to change Halloween into something else if I'm not doing Halloween parties, right? Oh, here's my Halloween party. We're going to do it this way. We're not going to have candy. We're not going to do this. We're not going to knock on doors. Come here and have fun. I'm not the guy to do that because I don't care about Halloween. But it's important to understand these things. So if you want to enjoy Halloween, go ahead, have fun, be safe. I would suggest not going to a bad neighborhood for trick or treating because you will get a trick. You will not get a treat. You will get mugged, robbed, possibly raped or murdered. So be careful about where you trick or treat, and don't give your kids an endless amount of candy. Let them if you're going to trick or treat, they can get all the candy they want, but don't let them eat it all at once. If they get 40 pieces of candy in their bucket, then hey, you got plenty of candy for the next couple of months. You can eat a piece of candy every day, whatever. It's not my kids. So that's just my thoughts on it. My thoughts aren't as important as your thoughts. Well, I do hope that somebody watches this and understands Halloween a little bit better, and maybe it inspires them to change Halloween into something that they think is better for society, better for our culture. God knows we need as much as we can. We need all the help we can get in fixing our culture, making a better society, regardless of where you stand on the issue, if you want to even call it an issue. Be safe, have fun in whatever way you'd like to have fun. Me personally, I'm going to spend Halloween at the house with my animals, with my two dogs and my two cats. I do have a black cat, by the way. Very Halloween inspired fur pattern there. Black cats are actually they actually have a close associating with Halloween and the occult in general. Not sure why. Maybe we can look that up at some point. But my cat's not evil to my knowledge. Well, he's just as evil as every other cat. But yeah, y'all have fun. Be safe. We'll have another episode of Bad Points probably next week, at least one. Like I said, Dan Wiggins couldn't make it this week, and I've had two other people have to cancel because they have busy lives, and I don't pay people to be on the show. I also am not paid to promote the First Form energy drink, but I do think that if you drink energy drinks, you should drink those because, trust me, that's going to be better for you and your country and your society if you support the right companies, and First Form is a good company to support. So, happy Halloween, have fun, and be safe, and I'll see you next time.